episode 103 of Explode Your Expert Biz, a show brought to you by gtex.org.uk. I'm your host, Simone Vincenzi, the expert strategist, and this is the podcast for experts who want to become the ultimate authority in their niche while making an impact in the world. Today, I have the pleasure to interview the one and only Chris Salem on mastering the art of mindfulness for sustainable success. Today we are going to cover how to use meditation to skyrocket your performances, how to deal with unresolved issues that are stopping your business growth, and also the step-by-step process that he uses to create sustainable success. Chris is an accomplished life and business strategist, a world-class speaker and award-winning author, certified mindset expert, a radio show host, and wellness advocate, and partnering up with entrepreneurs, corporate business leaders, and sales professionals to have sustainable success at the next level by resolving the root cause to mindset barriers. Now, you can find also the full transcripts on our website on the link www.gtex.org.uk/episode 103. And also there are also the links here in the show notes where you can connect with Chris. It's been a great interview, so you make sure you want to listen from start to finish. Now, if you want to make six-figure presentations and become awesome at selling from the stage without compromising with your integrity, then I've created the ultimate selling from the stage checklist, which is the most comprehensive checklist that allows you to create a pitch that sells like crazy without being manipulative or sleazy. Also, if you want to receive support and to connect with Chris and to all the other guests that we had on our show, to connect with a large community of experts, then join our Facebook group, which is Explode Your Expert Biz. Explode Your Expert Biz, you can find it on Facebook, or there are both the links for the checklist and the Facebook group here in the show notes. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, what the heck are you waiting for? Let's subscribe right now so you don't miss any future episode. And without further ado, it's time to hear Chris. Let's start the music. Welcome to another episode of Explode Your Expert Biz show. Simone Vincenzi here with the one and only Chris Salem. How you doing, Chris?
It's great to be here.
That's brilliant. Today we have all kind of things around mindfulness and performance prepared for the show. So I'm really looking forward to this interview. Before we start talking about mindfulness and performance, can you tell us a bit more about how did you get into all this? Because I'm really curious.
Well, it's been something that I've been involved in quite some time. However, I didn't get into it professionally until about 5 years ago. So I had spent most of my career in the sales profession within aviation. So I dealt with aviation media, brokered aircraft. But the process that I'm going to be talking about today with your audience is something that I went through about 20 years ago and decided 5 years ago that this was what I love to do and I wanted to do this full time to bring to the masses.
Brilliant. And so what in particular got you in love with this topic? Because, for example, my passion has been sales, and I've been obsessed about selling and learning about selling, and I love teaching it. I love learning it. So I think that the more people I interview, there is always a turning point or something that happened that got you to fall in love with this compared to something else. What was that for you?
Well, for me, it was, again, operating at a sustainable level. I see so many people a lot of times, especially in sales, they'll go in pockets where it's like a roller coaster ride. And the reason why they're not able to get to the next level is because they're operating their business as well as their personal lives, managing the problem, which they don't know what the problem is, rather than from the solution from within. This is where mindfulness comes in to help to resolve the root cause to that problem and that you can operate within the solution. So this is something that is great for salespeople. It's the foundation for sustainable success for people that are in the sales profession.
And did you attend different courses? How did you got in touch with mindfulness at the beginning? What was your starting point?
It was a personal story. So, growing up, I had a father that was not usually present. And if he wasn't emotionally there. So I grew up a very angry individual. And as a result of that, I went through my teen years, my college years, my 20s, just with a lot of lack of direction. Even though I had a good work ethic, I constantly needed validation from bosses or peers that were males, because I never had that validation from my own father. And as a result of that, he was my root cause that led to my anger, that affected my wellness, affected my relationships, both personally and in business. And then also my business, that I would crash and burn constantly in my business. So when I went through this process, it was just a point where I reached rock bottom. I suffered from addiction as well. And so I joined a 12-step program and adopted Eastern meditation and used bits and pieces to come up with my own process that I'm going to share with you today to overcome the problem, to eliminate it, to operate within the solution for sustainable success. And this is where mindfulness comes into play.
Thank you for sharing. It's something that I think a lot of people get into meditation and mindfulness because of a personal journey or something happened. I remember for me, when I started getting into it first, it was about, it was also because I had a lot of issues with addiction, in particular with food. Some of my listeners know that I went through anorexia, I went through bulimia, I went through overeating. And not something that a lot of men would talk about, but food addictions are present also in men. It's not just for women. And I remember going into Overeaters Anonymous, which is the Alcoholic Anonymous versions of Overeaters, and where they use the same 12-step process for it. And I've understood a lot about myself, and that led me into book a Vipassana retreat where I spent like 10 days not talking to anyone, not even making eye contact or physical touch, and it was just meditating for 10 days. Now, that's not sustainable for everyone, because I think that what we are talking about today is not secluding yourself like a hermit and zone out completely from the world. Otherwise, life can be pretty easy, right? I mean,
yes.
but how do you cope with all the demands of a business owner and perform at a high level, and how do you combine those two? So let's start a bit with where is the starting point if someone wants to get into mindfulness and say, you know what, I need more self-awareness, I need to work better on my mindset. Where can they start?
So the key place to start is to be aware you're not where you want to be. So you may be something in your personal life. Maybe there's something where your wellness, you're not where you want to be. Your relationships are not where you want to be. But in this case, if this is about business, it could be sales, it could be anything. You're just not where you want to be in your business or career. That's the first step. And then the next step is to follow through and accept where you are at right now, and to make a commitment to embrace yourself in the process, which the process is to find the root cause to the problem through the process, and then to eliminate it in order to adopt a solution that aligns with your purpose to go forward.
And how is this helping you as an expert? Because all our listeners are people that they're establishing themselves, they are experts, they're establishing themselves as authorities, and there is a lot of work that needs to be put out there, like the work that you do as well. You speak all over the US, and I don't know if also you speak all over the world about this topic. So you are always on the road, delivering your workshops and delivering your talks and delivering your radio show. So I think that you are actually the perfect person to relate with our audience. How are you using it to manage maybe all the workload that you had or the responsibilities that you have in your business?
Well, I mean, it's something, again, the art of mindfulness is to be in the moment. Right. And then when you're in the moment, you're able to have three important things that are going to result of being in the moment. Once you've learned how to practice mindfulness and really master it. One, you're going to have clarity. And with clarity, it's going to build a clear foundation, not a cluttered foundation. And when you have clarity, you have the ability to be more decisive. So with being decisive, you can make swift decisions and stick to them. And when you have the ability to make swift decisions, you have the ability now to also follow through with massive action. So what mindfulness does with those three attributes, it allows you to have a clear foundation. You become more focused. And when I say focused, I mean laser focused in the moment on the task at hand. So what I do is I focus on the things that really matter, or the priorities that are going to make a difference with my clients, my business, and will also be positive for not only my own achievements, but more importantly for my family, friends, and so forth.
Brilliant. And so what can I do? Is there an exercise that I can do to start the process? I want to get started. I want to go more into mindfulness. Actually, before that, I have a question. This is more a bit of curiosity.
Sure.
Is mindfulness and meditation the same thing? Or is that part of it? Is that a different part? I think that I never got clarity about, is mindfulness something on the side? Is a meditation just a part of it? Are the same thing? Well, can you please clarify?
Yeah, well, meditation is a part of mindfulness. Right. So meditation is the actual time where you're meditating, you're in the moment, focusing on your breath, and just letting thoughts come and go. Yes. Just being inside your body. Mindfulness is also that, but it's also a way of life, is learning how to be in the moment to the best of your ability at all times. So it doesn't mean that you're always going to be in meditation 24/7 like a monk, but that you have the ability by practicing mindfulness and meditating daily to begin to be focused in the moment at one task at a time in that moment. So you're not allowing the past to come in where stress and fear exist, or the future where something that you're projecting that hasn't happened. That's where anxiety exists. And then anxiety leads to procrastination. So when you're able to be in the moment, you offset those two to be laser focused. So that's really the concept of mindfulness. The meditation plays an important part along with journaling in that process.
Okay, give us the step. I'm curious now. What's the process?
Here's the process that you want to do, and I'll nail it down. 1, be aware where you're not where you don't want it, where you're not where you want to be. 2, accept where you are now and commit to the process to resolve the root cause. Once you go through the process, it's gonna consist of meditation daily, consistently every day, not missing days, journaling. And journaling is going to be writing down exactly what comes to mind following the meditation for about 15, 20 minutes, and then writing down how you feel. Because you're going to be able to look back in time, be able to look at yourself from a third-party perspective to see the types of habits and thoughts that you were engaged in that were part of the problem. And as a result of that, you're going to be able to trace that back to the root cause, which is usually a parent, and then be able to forgive that person, not only for them, but also for, more importantly, for yourself. So it doesn't have to be something traumatic. It can be something very subtle. So there are many cases where people had wonderful childhoods, but there was something that just didn't register right at the subconscious level that created these limited beliefs and mindset barriers. And in order for those people to get through them, they had to resolve that with that parent. Right. So once you're able to do that, you also want to incorporate certain types of organizational habits into your routine. I make my bed every morning. It could be something that's going to set your mindset for being organized, keeping it clear. It could be exercising, some resistance training, eating right, reading, a chapter out of a personal development book or a business book, something that's keeping your mind sharp, keeping your body in shape. These types of habits done daily are going to serve you long term, along with the meditation and journaling, to keep you in that process of mindfulness.
That's brilliant. So let me dig deeper in this process, because now that we have the structure, I want to understand about the different parts and how they work. So let's talk about meditation first, which was the first. You mentioned first to commit to the process. So first is a personal commitment. So I'm committed to the process, and I say, okay, I'm gonna do it, and I'm starting with my meditation. is the meditation needs to be done? Is a particular meditation that you recommend?
I mean, it depends. I mean, it's not something, I mean, you want to be in a place that you feel comfortable where you're focused in the moment. It's not going to be easy at first. So it takes time to get really comfortable, being in your own skin, staying put and focusing on your breath. We could put some training wheels on it for some people in the beginning. There are some apps that you can download that will provide what they call a theta wave tone. It's a very like you could just barely hear it, but it helps to connect with the brain waves inside to get you into the theta wave state. So that's kind of like a little like training wheels for people to get into that groove. And then you can incorporate some background music, some falling, like mist rain, something very soothing to get you comfortable to do that. But the goal is, in time, you want to be able to do it without any of that you're able to go right into meditation without having to use that.
So I'm curious. So you didn't mention any guided meditation. There are a lot of apps that
Yes.
gets you to they guide your told process. Are they? You didn't mention them. Any particular reason why?
Well, you can. Yes, you can use guided meditation, but the thing is that if you're by yourself, unless you have something that's going to help guide it, you can do that. There's no particular way to do the meditation. Right. Some people might do tapping. Some people might, but it could be even Tai Chi. It could be you could be walking, early in the morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, walking along the beach in the zone, like in a moving meditative state. It really comes down to being focused in the moment for 15 or 20 minutes, whatever way that's going to suit you. There's no particular style. And if you need guided meditation, you could do that as well.
Oh, that's perfect. I was just curious because you didn't mention them, so I was like, did you put them? Did you delete them on purpose?
No,
because when you're going into meditation, everyone says this is the way. Like you need to meditate. You'd have to use a candle. No, you don't have to use a candle. You need to use the sound. No sound. You need to listen to the voice. No voice. You need to listen. So I like what you said. Is like, do whatever works for you as long as you get in the zone.
You got to get in the zone. And the thing is in the beginning, most people may not get into the zone.
Yeah.
And then they get frustrated and then they fall off the wagon. The key is to just keep doing it. Eventually, you're going to get into the zone where it's going to click. It's like with anything. You go to the gym, you're not going to be in great shape in 2 weeks. It takes consistency. You got to show up, do it. It's going to be very maybe uncomfortable in the beginning, but in time it gets better. And then once you get into that groove and you have the journaling, that's on the tail end of it, that's when it all starts to come together to be able to pinpoint the problem or the root cause to the problem with the negative emotion or emotions tied to it, then to release it.
Right. And do you recommend any specific length for them? Is that a minimum that someone should meditate? Is that a maximum? What do you recommend?
I would say 15 to 20 minutes is usually good. I mean, if you want to do a little longer, that's fine. I wouldn't do anything less because it's going to take a little time to get into that groove. Even especially in the beginning, you may do 15, 20 minutes and feel like I don't feel anything because you're not there yet. But you just got to just do it, and eventually get into the zone. If you want to go a little longer, if time permits, all power to you. But 15 or 20 minutes is fine.
Perfect. And then you mentioned journaling, right? So now step number 1 is the meditation, and then do you journal after the meditation? Yes. Before? So after the meditation.
After.
So tell me a bit more about the process of journaling, Chris. How would that work? What's the best way to do it?
Well, the best way to do it, there's no particular way either. So again, it could be, my opinion is if you just have like a notebook that you could kind of keep, that you could reference back to and write down whatever comes to mind. One day you might write down a couple words. Next day it might be 3-4 paragraphs. Whatever is in your mind, you're writing it down. You're not overanalyzing it. You're not overthinking it. You are just writing whatever comes to mind and how you feel. It could be the craziest thing in the world. It does not matter. The only person that's going to see it is you.
Right. And it's important that you do this in the morning, in the evening, any time of the day. Does the time matter?
Yes, the time does matter. You can meditate anytime, but if we're going to be effective in this process, meditating early in the morning with journaling is the best thing to do, because later in the day, there's just it's very hard to get into that groove, and you've already tackled most of your day. This is a way to really get the mind clear for the start of the day, and not start the day with a cluttered mindset, bring in new clutter, and then try to declutter later. It's very difficult. Not to say that you can't meditate again. You absolutely can. You can meditate anytime you want. It's just that for this particular exercise, doing it definitely in the morning is instrumental for success.
And I know I remember the first conversation we had. You wake up quite early in the morning, right?
4:30.
4:30, and then you go breakfast. You go to the gym. You do your meditation, your journaling. Then you go to the gym. So it seems you got your rituals pretty sorted.
Yeah, well, part of the process of this mindfulness too, and the whole process of success, or sustainable success, I should say, is having the right habits and disciplines that you practice daily. It's very important. That's where success is a process. It's not an outcome. And when you have the right habits and disciplines in place with the mindfulness, which is part of those habits, you're going to have sustainable success. You're going to have better wellness. You're going to feel good emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, intellectually. There's 8 pillars of wellness. Your relationships are going to improve, not only with yourself, but with your significant other, with your friends, family, business associates, bosses, business partners. And of course, you're going to see your business be able to sustain, because you'll be able to tackle problems and challenges and begin to see the opportunities behind the setbacks, because you have a more clear mindset. When you have a cluttered mindset operating out of the problem, when you do have problems in your business, you get caught up in the problem, and it further takes you down a foxhole. That's not where so the whole idea is to have that clear mindset, and you'll have the ability to see the blessings behind the setbacks in your business.
That's incredibly powerful. I remember that was a bit extreme, as I said, when I did my 10 days of meditation, and I was living my life for the next 2-3 months in a completely different way. Everything was much slower, and everything was more meaningful as well. And that's why I did the best I could to keep it up. I'm still in that kind of yo-yo phase with my meditation practice. So I'm some month I'm doing it, some month I'm not doing it, and then I was like, oh no, I need to do it. And then I see, and then I realize what's the effect, how much I'm missing out when I don't do it.
Yeah, it's one of these things when people ask me hey, after I go through this, how often do I? It's the rest of your life. I mean, it's like with anything, this is not like a thing you do for 6 months and then you graduate and you don't have to do it again. This is something that's going to be part of your life forever to the day you die. If you truly desire to live with that balance, with the clarity, and to have that sustainability that you're striving for. Now, if that's any of those are not important to you, then no need to do this. But I'm a firm believer that if you want to operate within the solution and have sustainable success, add more value to our world, put out more positive energy to this world, you got to come from the solution, and that's through the concepts of mindfulness and daily habits and disciplines that serve you.
And you mentioned forgiveness is so there were a few steps that you mentioned after journaling. You mentioned the root cause and finding the root cause, and you mentioned forgiveness. How do you know when you're found? So for you, talking about yourself, how did you know when you found your root cause?
All right, so
would you just pop up and it was say, I'm the root cause? It's
well, I'm gonna give you an example of pre-root cause and post-root cause. Right. So before I knew my root cause, I was a very angry individual. I was addicted to anger, and so the way to medicate my anger was getting involved in certain behaviors or habits that did not serve me. That led to some addictive personalities. I struggled with alcohol, drugs, sexual addiction. I would spend 3-4 hours a day in the gym. So again, kind of similar to what you did with the anorexia, the that type of thing. because I had this, even though I looked positive and I looked like I had a great self-image, really I had a poor self-image of myself. And that was because I needed to be validated by my father that I didn't have. So because of the addiction, anything that would trigger anger would linger with me for days, weeks, months. I mean, you could have somebody cut me off in traffic and it would stay with me for the whole weekend. It could stay with me for the whole week. I would be that angry because somebody cut me off in traffic.
Wow.
Now, was the person that cut me off in traffic that really made me mad? No, it was a trigger. What it did is it took me back through all the experiences that led to my anger, back to the root cause of my anger, my father. So every time when somebody cut me off and I went like this, I wasn't looking to maybe hit the person that cut me off. I was hitting my father. See what I'm saying? Now, post root cause, when you go and forgive the source, truly forgive, you're forgiving, not just saying it, you're forgiving it with every ounce and cell in your body to let that emotion out with it. So am I saying that you're never going to experience anger again? No, but here's the difference. When something comes that may anger you, you might feel the emotion of anger, but it will not linger with you. It will come and very quickly it'll go. But if the root cause is still there, it will linger. That's how you know if you release the root cause or not. If those negative emotions that you've suffered with your whole life linger and stay with you for certain periods of time, the root cause has not been resolved. That's the way to find out if it has or not.
And talking about forgiveness, I think is one of the processes that I've been through the process of forgiveness many times. Had a lot of people to forgive. I had myself to forgive for many things. And I got to say, for me, it was very tough. It was very difficult. How was it? How was the process of forgiveness for you?
It was very difficult. And again, this is not, when I tell people, this is not an easy thing, but it's necessary if you're looking to grow and to get to the next level in your life. There is no magic solution in a box. There is no one that is going to take care of this problem for you. Only you can solve the problem, and only you can be the solution. There are good products and resources, including coaching, that can help facilitate while you're going through this, but in itself are not going to solve the problem. So when people coach with me or hire me to be their strategist, whether if it's in a business setting or a personal setting, they're committed to they're doing the work. I'm just guiding them and keeping them focused and accountable. That's what my job is. But you solve your own problem, and you create your own solution. That is what it comes down to. You have to commit to this process. But I can say that if you go through it, once you get onto the other side, you'll look at it as the greatest thing that you ever done in your life.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I remember one of the reasons why I was having these addictive behaviors, in particular with food, because I remember I started with weed and then with cigarette and then weed and then food, is because it was because of my father too. And my father was an alcoholic, and my parents split up when I was 14, and that happened. And I remember that I did a lot of work by myself, but it was tough because my mind and my emotion did everything they could to avoid going back there and going through the process. They were like distracting me because they didn't want me to experience the pain, to go back and deal with it. And that's why I found like working with someone else helped me massively, because it kept me there when I didn't want to be there.
Exactly.
And I think that's the value that someone like you provides, when, because it's easy. Like you sit down for 15 minutes, you meditate, then you journal a bit, and then a bunch of stuff come up, and then you release. Like on paper, it's simple, right?
When people read my book, they look at it and say, God, I could do this. But when you actually go to really do it, it's a whole new ballgame. This is why 85%, if not more, 90% of people will never be able to get out of the gate, really. Or if they get out of the gate, once they go through the resolve the root cause process, that's where it ends. Because they see how difficult it is, and they know that once they do find the solution and resolve, now we got to develop a life and business strategy that we need to follow for the rest of our lives. This is like a game plan. It's like no different than The New England Patriots football team, who, why they consistently win is because they're disciplined, they're focused, and they follow a daily plan every day, even with average players. And they're able to beat teams that have far better talent. I use that as an analogy because the difference between talent and somebody that has less talent is the person that is mentally focused and committed to the process. Those are the people who are going to win long term versus the people that have all the talent in the world but not focused. This is a long term process. It's hopefully the message is that get people to understand that they have to commit to the process. It's not going to be something that's going to happen in the next few weeks or next few months. But it's so worth it. What you will become as a part of it.
Absolutely. Then you can actually look at yourself in the mirror and be someone who is proud of who you are. And,
absolutely.
And life somehow becomes easier.
Life will get a little easier. It will get a lot easier on the other side once you are in the solution, following your game plan every day of your life.
Absolutely, because you're not stuck in the problem, but you're living in the solution. So you're able to tackle, it's not that problems will not come, but you're able to tackle the problems in a much more effective way. And things that before felt like they were huge problems, like for you, someone like cut you off the street, for example, with a car, that is like, really? It's like, goodbye. So before we wrap up, Chris, do you have a little exercise then people can follow through or to get started in this process?
I would say, anybody that's listening, should just start with, I'm not where I want to be. Take an inventory of your life, your business, and see, are you content with where you are? Many people are going to say no, but there is a way that you could play at a bigger level. Nobody is different from you. Even if somebody is famous and if they're a sports athlete or a celebrity or runs a multi-million-dollar business, those people are no different than you. They may have certain strengths that you don't have, and you have strengths that they don't have. But when it all comes down to it, you could be the same if you put yourself through this process. Those are the people that have gone through this process. That's the only difference. That's the only difference between you and them. But you're not there to compare yourself to them. You're there to look at them as a benchmark or as a role model to know that I can do it too. And I'm only focused on myself. I'm not comparing myself to others.
So immediately it's about starting making the list of things. These are the things that are not working. This is the where I don't want to be.
And where you want to be as well.
And then you want to put them both. So these are the things that I don't want. These are the things that I want. So at least you can have awareness. You can have awareness about what's going on, what's not going on, how you feel about things, and then start working through the process of releasing those emotions and becoming clear and become then more effective, more efficient, and having that strategy in place. It sounds like a great plan, Chris. I absolutely loved our interview. And now it's time to wrap up.
Sure.
I would love to know, how can people know more about you, find more about your blogs, your radio show, your talks, your time to shine.
Sure. Thank you so much. Well, best place to reach me is at my website at Christopher, Christopher, Salem, SALEM.com. So you'll find a wealth of information about what we discussed today. I do workshops, I do keynotes, I do online trainings. There's a gazillion things there. You can find wealth of resources. You can also find my book there, Master Your Inner Critic, Resolve the Root Cause, Create Prosperity. My contribution to Jack Canfield's book is there. And then I'm all over social media. Chris Salem, my personal page, Christopher Salem Professional on Facebook. I also have the Sustainable Success Radio Show on the Voice America Influencers channel. You can find it there, or just Google Sustainable Success Radio Show and it'll pop up. It'll be the first thing that pops up. And that's the best place to connect with me. And I'd be happy to answer any questions anytime for any of the guests.
Fantastic. Chris, thank you very much for being on the show. Guys, that now that you've listened to the interview, we are going to add Chris to our Facebook group as well. So then you can ask him any question directly there and keep the conversation going, because I'm sure that there are going to be few questions that you had from this interview, from listening to it, from the process that he shared, and I want you to be able to have your question answered. So use this episode as a starting point to keep the conversation going with Chris. That's why we have the Facebook group, which is Explode Your Expert Biz. Same name of the podcast on Facebook. So Chris, thank you very much for this interview. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Fantastic. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to another episode of Explode Your Expert Biz show. Now there is a couple of things that you got to do right now, straight away. One, I know that you have that subscribe button that is calling you. It's there, and it says click me. So click that subscribe button and subscribe to our show so you don't miss any other episode. And as well, let us know, what did you enjoy the most from Chris' interview? What was your biggest takeaway? Let us know in the review and leave us a 5-star review. That will help us also grow the show. If you enjoy this and you want to give back, give us a 5-star review. We would really, really appreciate it. And again, see you next episode, and keep the conversation going and Explode Your Expert Biz group. And there is one thing to remember, that together we grow exponentially. See you next time.